Hello once again, friends. Welcome into the Eric St. Show podcast, the daily show where I discuss news, nonsense, and my personal adventures from the Impact Power Sports Studio. Impact Power Sports, great place to pick up a Yamaha golf cart online at impactpowersportsmi.com. Golf carts, side-by-sides, ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, e-bikes, scooters, go-karts. Did I say go-karts? I think I did. I don't know. Welcome to you all. Thank you so much for being here. The world-famous 135-pound man, that would be Jeremy Kay, is in attendance. Excuse me. Recently changed jobs and has to work at a different set of hours, so not all of the time with us here, but he is today. So that's fantastic. I guess it's 138 pounds now, as he keeps doing great things. Very, very proud of you. I kind of want to be a fly on the wall when you visit the doctor's office. Or perhaps that's already come and gone, where the doc says, oh, my gosh. Because, you know, how often is it that you sit down with the doc and you say, oh, boy, you've gained 8 pounds. Hey, your blood pressure's, you got to turn this around. And he knows most people are not going to do that. And then it's like me. In another year, we'll go by and they go, oh, boy, now you're up another 7 pounds. He knows that you're not going to do that. Most people will not actually do that. You are the shining light so that the physicians, you did it. Oh my gosh, you did it. Now, it isn't because of anything that the doctor said that made you do it. It was you just kind of like, all right, that's enough. I've had it. Man, boy, things are kicking into high gear for you. You got the girl. You got the new job. A new outlook on life. That's fantastic. Everybody's so proud of that. Jeremy says I might actually record it. Oh, yeah. Outstanding. I can just imagine how overjoyed the doc is, because if I understand correctly, you had all sorts of medications that you had been taking for various ailments that you don't even need them anymore. I guess the doc wants to see him for a physical. Amy says, what is your goal weight? You have to have hit it by now. Well, yeah, he is under 200 pounds. So I think he's now, after another couple of pounds down, I would say he's like 197, 196, down from 335 plus. Oh, my God, it's fantastic. So proud of that. So proud of you. Really, really outstanding. Great job. Today is tomorrow is a Big Fraud Wednesday. Ben Glaze and myself getting together with you for 2 shows. We will do Who Are These Free Beers? And then we will do the Ben and Eric Patreon podcast. I'll tell you this. I have a clip that I'm going to share with you when we do Who Are These Free Beers? Where my man Free Beer, they were doing one of those, we call it the Free Beer and Awkward Report, or Free Beer and TikTok Report. Well, they play a clip from a wacky TikTok or something like that. And it was a story, I guess somebody lost a cat and then somebody found a cat. They lost the cat, and then a couple people helped them find the cat. And the cat was returned to its rightful place. And that called for our pal Free Beer to get on a soapbox and get a little preachy about how America has to get together and how it's fun to work together at a common goal. And yeah, it was for Free Beer. This was a deep political pull because, as you know, he doesn't really get into anything politics related. At least not these days. We used to. It was awesome back when we did. I always enjoyed that when we would open up the Pandora's box and talk about politics. Because then you never knew what you were going to get when people would call in. Bread Bull Brain Chris says, I know you don't want to talk about it, but Greg was talking about she who shall not be named and her snoring today. Well, no, I do want to talk about it, but I'm not going to. Well, you know, I don't know how it works. You know, honestly, after what me and the Italian went over the response cease and desist, and he said, there's nothing here that you have not done anything legally wrong. She's just taking your words, writing them down out of context, and then to present them as, hey, this is how Eric feels. Eric is a bully. And presenting it to people that are my partners and trying to, get them to come down on me. That's what's happening. And the Italian said, so there's also, while there's nothing you did wrong, there's also, she is doing nothing wrong by taking your words and saying, hey, this is what EZ does. So do you want that headache? And I said, no, I do not. And he goes, all right, well, then just leave her alone. I go, all right. He says, she'll leave you alone if you leave her alone. And I go, all right, I can do that. That's fair, I guess. I mean, at the end of the day, I just wanted her to not reach out to my partners. And he goes, yep, I get that. And she just wants you to not utter her name ever again or talk about her kids in any capacity. I go, all right, fine. Becca says, I wonder if she's friends with that Megan chick. What Megan chick? I don't know what you're talking about. Miss Twaddalot makes a horrible comment that I will not read. Our Megan says, wait, not me, KMK. And then she adds, wait, so did she respond to the Italian? Yes. She followed up my cease and desist with her own cease and desist. So two cease and desists negate each other. So now it's just like, I'll go in my corner and I'll leave you alone. You leave me alone. Then everything will be happy. Everyone will be happy. All right. I can do that. Bob says, can you still make fun of Greg's kids or are all included? Well, I never... one of the things that she held against me was a crack I made about a child that is Greg's, not hers. She's the stepmother, too. And, again, none of this, it's just a way for her to say, hey, I'm gonna tell on you because you said these things and written down in written form. They look fucking horrible, admittedly. Yeah, I think it's probably a good bet, though, to not make fun of children. That's actually sage advice. Keep this, if anything, what has happened here is this has allowed me to be laser focused on my pal Free Beer and his show. Things related to that show. So if something happens on the radio, I am going to critique it. I am going to weigh in on it, as I have been. But outside of that, nothing more. All right. I will say that all of the awful comments that you ding-dongs made yesterday was revealed to me as a 456% spike in chat on yesterday's show. I get these statistics sent to my inbox every day about people listening, people watching. And yesterday's show, even though it was only about 90 minutes, had a 456% spike in chats. And I would say that nearly all of those were comments that you jackasses were trying to get me to read on the show that, no, I'm not going to read those. And it appears to be continuing now. Unrelated, Pillow for Twitch writes, easy, any ideas on how to get rid of dog piss smell off a couch? Not a fabric or leather. Got home last night from work and my 14-year-old dog pissed out the entire half. Pissed. So if it's not fabric or leather, what is it? What's the couch made of? Like Ed Gein skin? Is that an Ed Gein skin couch? Megan says, how is it not fabric or leather? Exactly. Well, what is it? Is it solid? And if that's the case, how is there a smell? Stevie hilariously asks, is it wood? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything really that gets anything out, a smell of pee out. I think your best bet is to burn the couch and get another one on Facebook Marketplace and don't ever buy new furniture again. That's what we have decided to do around here. Never again are we to own nice new furniture going forward. David suggests vinegar. Okay. So who are these free beers? Ben Glaze also has some clips. I just texted Ben Glaze yesterday, and because I checked out their show yesterday, and it was, again, a moment from the Free Beer and Boring Report where they would play a TikTok. And I'm not sure why they would do it, but it probably just because it showed up on the prep. But it was a clip of somebody saying it was something about Halloween season and crock pots or something like that. And this led to a deep dive on the topic of crock pots. I wrote, Ben Glaze, at about the 1 hour, 18-minute, 30-second mark of the Monday show, the gang breaks down crock pots. Holy fuck. Would it make your life easier if you had to pull clips from this? Or do you already have an idea of where you want to go? If you already have an idea, I can check that out on my own. It came to a remarkably awkward finish. This was part of the Free Beer and Awkward report. The follow-up story was about an inflatable pumpkin, another one of those where the audio does nothing. He responds, I can check it out. I have 2 Maitland clips so far that are absolutely awful, LOL. Alan says, I listened this morning. Terrible. I heard from Chris K. Chris K reached out. Bread Bull Brain Chris. Every time he reaches out to me, it's always something worthy of checking out to be on the show, either on this show or that show. Today at 8:11 a.m., Chris K wrote, for the last 5 minutes, Kelly's crazy has been shining. Lots of weirdo Kelly noises. Bob says, Kelly today announcing her plans for this weekend was bad. All right, I'll be checking this out. Thank you, as always, to Patrick P., MAGA Pat, who has again reached out with more things for me to review for Who Are These Free Beers. WATB WATFB suggestions for week of 10-6 through 10-10. Unbelievable, supercut, a sure sign of boring content. And then he gave me just a dozen timestamps over a few days of that happening. Steve, maniacal laughter. Not sure if he's going to break down sobbing or be committed. Someone check his prescription levels. Number 3, Hot Wings makes fun of Freebeer's stupid haircut. Thank you for saying what needed to be said. More man hating. Patrick MAGA Pat has written down that he thinks the show is man hating. Hot Wings admits to having PMS. They really need to turn in their man cards. Followed by Freebeer celebrating crying ass grown men. Oh yeah, that's part of Laugh, Think, Cry. We've talked about that. Greg has said many times that he wants his days to be filled with laughing, thinking, and crying. Like it's a goal. And he got that from that asshole Jimmy V, who everybody believes what that dumb dead dick said when he said, you got to laugh, think, you cry every day. Fuck you. I'm not going to cry every day, you asshole. More fun with Nikki Train Talk. And a couple of examples of the Steve Echo effect. Thank you, MAGA Pat. Skip writes, oh man, they are all chicks. It must sound like The View. Jeremy K says MAGA Pat's clips have been top notch. Jeremy says, Bob, thanks for sending the Ian Watkins story to EZ yesterday. And then Bob said, prison justice comes through again. Yeah, that was unbelievable. I had not heard of that. I had never heard of the band. I didn't know that Ian Watkins of Lost Prophets. I didn't even know the band, didn't know who he was, didn't know that many, many years ago he got busted for having sex with babies and had been sentenced to 30 years in prison. And after 13 years of surviving in prison, and he had already survived getting his throat slashed once, it happened again. And this time, the guy who did it in the prison in the UK was successful. Ian Watkins is dead. The story that we talked about featured quotes from his ex-girlfriend, who was the whistleblower on Ian Watkins when she found out about this many years ago. She said, oh, I'm so glad he's dead. Jeremy says, my only complaint is that they did it too early. Should have waited another few years until he was about to be released. Well, yeah, I get it, but it's probably a crime of opportunity. They knew he was a marked man, Ian Watkins from Lost Prophets. But there was a lot of interesting discussions about how the rest of the band carried on after the fact. And dare I say, there was some comedy involved in that story. That just goes to show you the level of skill involved with your old pal EZ. If you can take a story, a horrific story about some psychopath who during his life had sex with babies, and he goes to prison for 30 years and ends up getting murdered, to be able to find some hilarity in there is a true testament to the wit and wisdom of your old pal EZ. We all know this to be true. Bob says, dude needs his commissary stacked. Get those cigarettes and honey buns, because that's what they buy in prison. Yeah, cases of Newpos. Bread Bull Brain Chris says, we learned about the English appeal system. Yes, we did. In England, if your crime is heinous enough, you're not allowed to appeal. That's terrific. Alan says it went as far as EZ comparing himself to a child rapist. Well, Ian Watkins' mugshot looked remarkably like your old pal EZ if I had tattoos and a goatee. Speaking of cigarettes in prison, it reminds me of Charity Scam Mike, my brother-in-law. One of the greatest storytellers that has ever walked the face of the earth. Back in the early 90s, he got popped for a Dewey. And he's lucky he's not dead. Because the car went off the road, and it was like a service drive next to a freeway known as 696. And he's shit-faced, and the car rolled all the way down the hill. Now he's on the shoulder of the freeway. Service drive, not freeway. Freeway goes down. Massive freeway through Metro Detroit. Hammered. Car rolls all the way down, probably 10 times down the hill. Boom, 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 boom. Crash. The cops pull up, and he's army crawling out of the vehicle. Hey, guys! They're like, he's fine. There's nothing. Of course, there's nothing wrong with him. It's the one and only time. I don't want to say it's the one and only time he ever drove drunk, but he sure as fuck got busted. And I've never been, he's always like, take the keys, take the keys. They take him to prison, take him to jail. He ends up getting, what did he get? 20 days in jail. And in the county jail, which is pretty rough from what I'm understanding. And he's thinking, oh, great. You know, this is just in time. It's like the spring, late spring, and this will work out. I'll get my 20 days done and then enjoy the summer. And then he hears that the judge says, and you will serve it weekends. So for 10 weeks, 2 days a week for 10 weeks. Show up to jail Friday evening, and then you're released on Sunday, go back to your job. So that was it. The summer was that. First day, he's scared shitless. And he's the only white guy in there. And he pulls out his smokes. This is where the term Nupo came from. Because one of the guys, it's all black guys. Black guy walks up and goes, hey, man, give me one of them Nupos. And Mike's like, yeah, sure. Gives him a cigarette. And then word gets around the yard that white boys got Nupos. And so all of a sudden, Mike has no Nupos. That allows him to survive the weekend. My stepsister, Elizabeth, picks him up on Sunday. Friday, he goes back. He goes, stop at Buscemi's. Pulls in there, comes back out. And then he finishes the ride. And he walks into the jail. And they go, you got any clothes? Anything? He goes, nothing. And he walks into the prison, or into the jail. And he opens up a carton. He goes, you get a pack. You get a pack. You get a pack. He gives away all the smokes. He keeps one for himself. And then he goes, hey, you know what? There's more where that came from. Because I'm going to be here all summer. Every Friday, you meet me right here. I'll walk in. Everybody gets smokes. And they're like, motherfucker, yeah, all right. So every Friday, he'd stop at the party store, get a carton of smokes, walk in, give them out to everybody there, and then he would just sit and wait. Want to take a shower? Nope. Want to eat? Nope. Nothing. Just sit and wait for 48 hours. Don't do shit. My God. Rebecca says, your brother was smart. He is smart. He's still smart. He was smart in that instance for sure. Actually, I take it back. There's a lot of times he's not actually smart. But he's hysterical, and I love him. This is my stepsister's /sister's husband, Charity Scam Mike. Brad Bullbrain Chris says he was packing the old prison wallet for each weekend. Oh, he definitely should not be let out, but he still did a good deed. Referring to the murderer that killed Ian Watkins. Can you remind us how he got his nickname Charity Scam Mike? It was so weird. He called me one time and he was doing a fundraiser for an autistic school or something like that. And he was so weird when he was bringing it up about fundraising for it that I said to him, I go, are you running some type of scam? A charitable scam? Am I going to hear about you on the news after an investigation? Is this going to be on like CharityScamWatch.com? And he got pissed off. So thus the name Charity Scam Mike is forever burned into the audience's brains. He was collecting money for a concert. Not really. He was. He wanted to give away. It was an auction, and he said, "You got anything for the auction?" I gave him a Detroit Pistons Grant Hill autographed basketball, which isn't worth that much. I don't know. Aram listens intently, so maybe there was some truth to that, or I added that element to the story that I have since forgotten. It could very well be. All right. Greg Henson update. So, 1/3 of the WLAV morning show got shit canned last week. And I connected him to the good folks at Q100 about him working at the radio station up north. And I don't have confirmation yet on this, so I can't say for sure. But I'm reasonably sure that my man is going to land on his feet. I cannot confirm that, but I think it is going to work out. That would be amazing. And how this turned out on my end, again, it was like Greg got fired on Friday. He texted me here. I got up. I called him. I was like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. The weekend comes and goes. Monday, in fact, a week ago yesterday, Cheryl from the radio station says, hey, we're losing our operations manager. Do you know anybody? And I'm like, actually, I do. I know somebody just got shit canned. We shall see. So if any of you have listened to WLAV, there may be, and you follow along, there may be news about our pal Greg Henson. All right. Again, we have just announced that we have another pinball event, and this one is going to be a tournament, a pinball tournament. Oh, my God. This is happening Saturday, November 8th. So on that Saturday, we'll head on over to the Rockford Corner Bar again, hang out, have a drink or two, maybe a snack, and then we'll strut on down the road to Pinball Land and get after it there. 8:30 is when we'll walk in there. 9 p.m. we will start. Prizes, something terrible, I'm told, for the top 3. Donut Dan says, when do you start at WLAV? There is nothing in the works for me working at WLAV. In fact, there is for sure nothing going on in mornings. That is not on the table. There may be something on the table at a different time of day. I'm not going to lie to you. It is being discussed. but nothing major, and nothing that I'm really at liberty to talk about right now. I am that even just saying this here is way cart before the horse, but there is a possibility that something could work out, and that would just be going from literally walking across the street from iHeart over to Cumulus. I have no contract with iHeart. I am a at-will employee that voice tracks from here, and I love it. It's great. But if there is an opportunity at LAV, I would probably, maybe. You see, they both don't pay, but there might be some opportunities that work better for your old pal Easy. I utilize radio, radio as a, what is the word I want to use? Supplement. Any income I get from radio is supplemental. I will say that I am proud of the fact that this podcast has been going now for nearly 7 years, and that radio has come back to me to some degree with doing my work for Q100 and for iHeart. Everybody's been great, and I'm excited for the opportunities. So we shall see. Nick writes, since we are talking about it, would it still be okay to bring my son? Can I pay for him to play without being in the tournament? Yeah, of course. You don't have to be in the tournament. All right. So here we are, a day or so removed from the big news about the peace settlement between Gaza and Israel. And, you know, that was all like sunshine and rainbows. You had the people being reunited with their families. And the U.S. says they're going to rebuild the Gaza Strip. And Hamas has to stop their terroristic ways. Now, one of the things, though, that is going on right now. On Monday, Trump suggested that he had been given the organization known as Hamas approval to manage internal security in Gaza as it sees fit, as part of a peace deal to return the remaining living hostages to Israel. And this is how they did it. The people on their knees are Palestinians who are about to be shot in the head by members of Hamas. There's another picture of it right here, different angle. They executed 8 people on a busy street in Gaza City just one day after a ceasefire went into effect. Everybody's standing around watching it. This used to happen when my dad lived in Iran. You'd have these public executions, but they would hang people. That's what he saw as a child. Well, this is what they're doing in the Gaza Strip right now, surrounded by blown-out buildings. As I understand it, the reason for this is that these psychopaths are rounding up members of various family clans that had formed like their own type of pseudo organization that goes against Hamas. So imagine that. All these, oh my God, all this fighting you do to bloodshed, and the first thing you do at the end of the war when the ceasefire is declared is kill your own people. If I'm anybody and I see that, I'm like, you know what? Fuck this shit. Fuck, we're going to pull the deal and just continue to root you scumbags out. Easier said than done, of course. And because this seems like the type of thing, like, remember when we got out of Afghanistan, how immediately the Taliban took control of the people that live there. I don't know how that any organization, Trump administration or whoever with NATO, UN peacekeepers could allow anything like this to happen. My God. And this is the same organization that on college campuses, students are waving flags across the U.S. saying, "We love Hamas, you idiots." This is all part of a series of bloody reprisals following the withdrawal of Israeli troops. The 8 men were badly beaten, and they were each shot dead by Hamas gunmen in front of a cheering crowd. The terror group said, without providing evidence, that the killings targeted, quote, criminals and collaborators with Israel. Yeah, that's a great way to usher in a ceasefire and a peace agreement. Shoot anyone that was a collaborator with Israel. Among those killed was Ahmad Zidan El-Tarabin, reportedly responsible for recruiting agents to a rival non-Hamas alleged militia. My God. Hamas has quickly looked to reassert its control over the Gaza Strip, targeting the clans or family-based armed groups that had gained strength during the conflict. My God, what a crazy, crazy bunch of people. Trump says you have close to 2 million people going back to buildings that have been demolished, and a lot of bad things can happen. So we want it to be safe. I think it's going to be fine. Who knows for sure? Yeah, it looks great. Under Trump's peace plan, Hamas was expected to disarm and surrender governance of Gaza, something the terror group has refused to do. So what does this mean? Does this mean that eventually we pull the deal because we'll be back to square one before you know it? Jesus, this is sickening. Let's see. Bob says, I thought Gaza was going to be turned into Mar-a-Lago 2.0. Donut Dan says, time to open another pager store. My God, that is so stupid. Okay. Thanks as always to the sponsors for being part of this show. First of all, you can email me on the Shoreliner Striping inbox, eric@ericzaneshow.com. Thank you to Pinball Land, where we will be for the next Pinball Orgy, number 3. This won the tournament. If you want to have a great time retro gaming, head over to Pinball Land in Rockford, Michigan. You go in, you give them $9, you play for the whole hour, and you don't have to pump any quarters into the machine. Give them $15, you play for 2 hours. $20 all day. Pinball Land in Rockford, Michigan, a great place to spend a day having fun and some retro gaming at Pinball Land in beautiful Rockford, Michigan. The Mario Flores Lakeshore team of Van Dyke Mortgage wants to make sure that you are all set when it comes to buying your new home. If you want to get into a mortgage, buy now and refinance later with the Mario Flores Lakeshore team of Van Dyke Mortgage. 231-332-6505. 231-332-6505. Call Mario, mention me, and begin the pre-approval process to getting your mortgage. 231-332-6505. All right, I'm going to take a break for just a second. Reload, re-engage, recalibrate. If you are enjoying the show on Facebook or YouTube, if you want the rest of it, it's on Twitch. You go to twitch.tv/Eric Zane Live. Give yourself a username, follow the page, and away you go. You can subscribe for free with your Amazon Prime account. You can link that up, and you can get it for free without any ads. Otherwise, you got to pay a few bucks if you want it without ads. But it's all there for you. Twitch.tv/Eric Zane Live. Thank you for watching on YouTube